The tutorial has now been passed. The introduction has been cleared. Welcome back, everyone, because the real game is beginning right now. We've already got some moves. We got to get right into it. Gentlemen, Clearlove is taken to the stage in this matchup. And I got to say, this is looking absolutely spectacular. Clearlove 7 showing up for Edward Gaming to try and turn it around. If RNG had a tough time with Haro, and now you're bringing in the final boss, how on earth are things going to change for this matchup? Is it just still more of the same for Edward Gaming that Royal Never Give Up have to overcome here?
Oh, 100%. Olaf is going to be the one take away. And here's the thing. If you're going to bring in the pig of Sejuani, he's the pig farmer. I want to see what they do to support him, because I don't necessarily think that you should decide to take away the option of a Sejuani for team fights. But what you can do is buff up your mid laner, have it so the Swain or something that is much more push intensive, with Talia getting taken away so frequently. If they can have mid priority and allow it so they can collapse on MLXG's invades, then it's a lot better.
Yeah, for me, Clearlove, it's about the player. I know the picks can change a bit to help them, but the player is different. When we have to mention that, he's been great playing around defensive into the bot lane. And a lot of things that he does is that he's about control and cunning. Sometimes he can phantom the pressure in the bot lane. He's willing to fall behind in farm, but he will still keep the vision around the bot lane. So that side lanes are not going to look as bad as they did in Game 2. And I just need to get this out of here, but chat, you know what to do.
Yeah. Keep the sevens moving.
All right. Okay.
That's exactly it. Well, I absolutely have to keep an eye on this because, again, this is Clearlove coming in. Still, though, there's more than just Clearlove in this matchup. There are 9 other players, though. Uzi will get the chance to confront his demon. We're actually seeing RNG make a change coming into this Game 3. They were victorious in Game 2, but they're stepping Zetai out of the top lane and bringing Let Me in instead, despite an excellent performance on that Vladimir.
Yeah, I thought he played well. I thought one of the best things about it was 8 minutes in when they were going for Baron Rush, he kept a strong defense, even actually was really close
Almost
to getting a kill on Sejuani. So I thought he played it well. Bringing in Let Me is just essentially refreshing your mentality. They know they have a long road to go still to get those 3 wins for themselves. So, I mean, if Let Me fails here, they can always bring him back. But Let Me coming into the series for the first time means that he has seen enough of the map to understand what his priority is.
The biggest difference between Let Me and Zetai statistically is that Let Me has 0 solo kills, while Zetai has a couple of them. If you're subbing in Let Me, you're looking about less of the big carry potential, the solo carry potential that he provides, and more about what he's going to do in terms of the team fighting right here. I actually think this is a clever ploy from RNG to let EDG slip up. They've been banning Ornn for the past 2 games right now, and if they don't remember that, if they swap it out for the Olaf, we could be seeing them going for something like a Kai'Sa teamfight composition, a Varus teamfight composition, something that has a good front line and makes use of that Rageblade Guinsoo's.
Of course, that being said, that would imply that EDG were to leave the Kai'Sa open. You have to remember, they also banned that Ornn and Karma. So we'll have to see what that draft is going to be because, again, bringing in this new jungler, bringing in this new top laner is going to change the priority, though we do expect the playstyle to stay the same for these teams.
And the big takeaway here is that RNG is still on the blue side.
Yeah.
So if you already had a winning strategy in Game 1 of having Olaf priority, then pick up the Olaf still. They've been remaining true with their Talia bans just from that one. There's nothing changing on that end. I think what really does change is how EDG wants to respond with that. Ryze could be taken away in the 1-2. That's what I want to see going forward if it's going to be the Ryze and Sejuani, because we've seen them go up against Billy Gaming with Scout and Clearlove get a lot of proper ganks across in that lane. So we might be seeing a lot more gank priority come in that instance.
And that's why I actually think the Olaf might still stay open right here. Clearlove is like good enough to play against it just with his knowledge and his ability to play defensive in the lane and let them scale up as well. So I actually think the Swain is going to still stay there, but they're going to lessen the impact of MLXG.
I mean, we did hear in the Trash Talk video that MLXG wants to hunt down Clearlove. He's been trash talking the guy for years trying to get back to him, and it's been so long since he's been able to take a win.
And it's just been talk.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
For the time being, could this be the chance that we finally see MLXG start to step up against his nemesis Clearlove? Because at this point, it's not just Uzi's rivalry anymore.
Yeah, I think so. Remember, major point of focus is the fact that he was in the back and he was taking a gander at that level 1.
Yeah.
Recognizing that all of that started because Olaf had a good idea of being able to put Sejuani behind. And so even though Sejuani wasn't a camp behind in the regard of being able to lose, not be able to pick up blue buff, she didn't have access to the rest of the camps, that Olaf had vision of her going in. And then we get to see the star on the show.
I guarantee you, in the first jungle rotation, Clearlove is not going to fall behind like Haro 3 camps. He was 12 CS behind on that single first rotation right there. And there's a lot of things you can do differently in that terms. He's going to set up the vision. He's going to wait for Olaf to actually start those camps first. And then he's going to call the bot lane that's already been shoved out. I think you can do a lot of things that are different. I think Clearlove has that experience. So, you know, this is one of the big challenges of playing against EDG. When a game really matters, when they see it slipping away, they sub him in. He was subbed in when the last game versus Rogue Warriors happened. When Rogue Warriors came back that one game, he was here to right the ship.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if he can do it now in this final and claim yet another title for Edward Gaming and continue to add more chapters in this same book, or whether or not this could be it. This could be the time that we close the book on Edward Gaming and Clearlove's reign of dominance in the LPL and start to see something new. Uzi is now 2 wins away from claiming his first domestic title. And immediately you can see the older brother on your screen right here, Clearlove. His teammates sit down, he's laughing, he's smiling, immediately bringing the attitude back up.
Yeah, getting warmed up. And remember what it means for Clearlove to be on the map, is that he is the extra shot caller as well. A lot of the shot calling we attribute to Mako. When Clearlove wasn't in the front, last spring, they brought in Fire Lolly. There was major issues in the later portions of the game in terms of shot calling, in terms of leadership, highlight even. So now you bring him back, and I want to see what the focus is immediately from the get-go.
We're certainly about to see what that's going to be. Of course, their opponents, Royal Never Give Up. Now they're starting to get some momentum with their first win. Uzi, no smile this time as he makes his way to the stage, but MLXG hugging his coach, saying, I can do it. I can bring Clearlove down. Let me take the carry. Let me take the assassin. No, not you, let me. Let me, MLXG. Let me, you go on the top lane.
You know, Hart is a really touchy coach, and he takes up a lot of the eye lines right there, but I think the face I was trying to watch was Uzi's face right there. He's going up against the demon that went inside his head. Look at his face. That's a resolved face. He's still chewing on his bubble gum like nothing's ever happened. There's no sign of distress here. And this is the growth that we've seen from Uzi in that Invictus Gaming series as well. He was resolute the entire way. He never wavered. He never looked tired or phased.
Yeah, because he could play anything he wants on that front. The fact that he get in the game too, picking up the Ashe because it was better in the laning phase versus Caitlyn, and then he recognized that he can lead the charge in what fight they utilize. If you don't have the engage coming out of your jungler because he's Olaf throwing axes, you can just be able to walk yourself down to the bottom lane and get the action started yourself. So he's cool, he's calm, and he recognizes what role he has going game to game.
And if you think EDG's priority with Haro was scary, consider adding Clearlove to the mix. So that one game that he played against Rogue Warriors, he just played a completely different level compared to Haro and tore Rogue Warriors apart in that final game. Still though, RNG have got to know this is coming. Everybody can see this coming from a mile away. It is fate. It is destiny that these two are meeting here on the Rift one more time. It's going to be a hell of a match. I'm so excited. I'm actually really excited.
And the thing is, it's still up to Clearlove to showcase to us that he is not rusty on the map. I mean, we've seen some good games, though there are still 4 games that he has played on the map. So I want to see if he can come in to a finals and still showcase, even if he goes towards the Sejuani, that he can still be a major point of force on the map.
Well, now it's time to get into that game. Ladies and gentlemen, Clearlove is back. It's the Pig Farmer versus the Mad Dog. Before we send it to our casters, though, let's hear what Clearlove has to say about this matchup.
以前我拿过5次 LPL 的冠军，但很多人说我是食草型打野。这次我想以一个 slow 型的打野拿一次冠军。
Well, he's got to be an aggressive jungler up against MLXG going into game number 3. The series is tied up, and there are already a couple of changes coming into this match. Clearlove was mentioned on the desk, but we have to talk about Let Me as well, because we mentioned it during the first match. Tatai is the split push for his team. 51% kill participation for RNG. Let Me is sitting at 60%. He is the one that you look to teleport into team fights for the squad.
And the thing is Let Me also doesn't absorb as much tension as Tatai in terms of jungle priority. Yes, MLXG has played longer with Let Me, so we could throw him a bone, but ultimately, I think that all eyes are on Uzi. Clearlove is there. Clearlove is known for the level 3 gank on bottom, and Uzi just says, you better protect me. Either you're teleporting down here, you get control of the jungle, just get him out of my face.
That's the thing. I think RNG have got the read. They knew Clearlove was coming. They sent Let Me in specifically to have that extra team play. They're ready for the 5v5, and you know that they're going to scale and get there.
All right, as Clearlove's come back back in, and it looks like he's trying to get in the head of Uzi once more. Be that demon, the thorn in his side, and shut him down nice and early in this best of 5.
I mean, you see him on your screen in game number 2 when he was walking back after a loss. He was smiling, he was jovial, he was having a bit of a chuckle. Now he is still chewing his bubblegum, but this is Duke Nukem. He is ready to kick some ass.
It's all business, and let's see if he can get down to business in game number 3. Important to touch on that it's the same sides. RNG are sticking to blue side, and EDG are sticking to red whenever they get side selection.
Priority ban of Olaf, however. So last time around, RNG prioritized that pick. They snatched it right away. Swain, Kaiser, Rise, and Olaf all gone. What's the priority? Do they grab Sejuani and deny that from Clearlove?
See, I feel like that's where it has to be, right? You ban an Olaf when you were so good on it into Sejuani. It might be a lot of respect to Clearlove, though. Yes, Trundle's definitely available, but you know, we're with a limited sample size of Clearlove's play so far. This is his only comfortable champion that we've really witnessed was that Sejuani. So there's a high chance that it does get looked at.
He played 3 games in the regular split against BLG, where he only played Sejuani, in 1 game against Rogue Warriors, but he also played Sejuani. We have to see what Clearlove does pull out here, but Karma was let through the ban phase as Rise, Kaiser, and Swain with the 3 bans from EDG instantly locked in by RNG.
So here's the thing. Yes, Karma can still be a flex pick, but I feel like this is still about the jungle matchup. It's about making sure that you have that pushing priority in the mid lane to open up space for MLXG. But you are giving away Varus, the #1 ADC and the LPL, and the biggest power pick in terms of dominating lane. So, I mean, is this Uzi saying that I'm good enough, I can deal with this Varus? Because right now, Sejuani and Karma are hella skirmish oriented.
And you know why the Karma exists? It's because of the 3rd pick here for RNG. A high priority goes towards the Kog'Maw. When we mentioned Let Me comes in, higher kill participation. We see the Olaf ban. We acknowledge that Sejuani is a priority. We knew exactly what RNG were looking to do with their composition. EDG are the ones throwing spanners in the works with the Trundle firstly, changing things up for Clearlove, not prioritizing the Sejuani.
Yeah, throwing down the gauntlet. If they lock in Cassiopeia here, that is one hell of a skirmish to try to match the 2v2 and kill pressure. Instead, they try to match it and push.
Emperor of Shurima will be showing up at the Summoner's Rift in the mid lane. Last time, EDG blind picked this against RNG, or shut down. This time they know exactly what they're going up against. Karma in the mid lane was let through.
And what this does is it puts pressure on RNG that now they need to find some sort of pick that can penetrate into Edward Gaming's 5v5. They've already built a 5v5 comp, but once you're looking across from Azir, once you're looking from a Trundle pillar, how are you going to reach the Varus? Yeah, they can throw the Sejuani, but it's still hard to do that front to back unless your Kog'Maw is online and ready. So is it going to be a Camille? Is it going to be a Cho'Gath? What part of these elements do they go for?
I think what's super nice here about EDG's draft is that the Azir covers a mid-range with the Varus, but it's a little bit more extended as well, so he can actually cover long range closer to what a Kog'Maw does with the auto attacks, and you've got the utility of the ultimate to knock away the tanks to unlock your Varus to be auto attacking. When you look at the rest of EDG and the compositions they have, you see 1 ban already, the Thresh gone. Alistar is another one that you probably look towards. Mako may be able to lock that one down for himself once again.
As you mentioned, Frostgreen, Camille was banned out. EDG don't want to play against that champion. A lot of respect going towards Xiaohu, though. They take away Sign, even though it's probably going to be Karma in the mid lane. They don't want the hard counter to go up against Scout.
And echoing what Clement said on the desk, he talked about the Ornn. Ornn now slips through the bans, and it's also one of the options that, A, it's a big champion for Let Me, but it also gives them that backline penetration that they've been struggling to find against Azir, unless Edward Gaming grab it here.
And there's also a gangplank, so when you look at the top lane matchup, it could be a game of chicken. Who goes for the Ornn first? Who wants to scale in the matchup? Both very good at kiting backwards and working around your composition, so there is a chance that that's the top lane we end up with.
EDG flinch first, or do they try and take it away from RNG before their pick phase? They still have 1 final pick, and that's probably going to be the support for Mako. But we have seen Ornn flex in the past. Can still go down to bottom lane. We could see the Trundle even being thrown as a support too.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Shin. I think Shin really disrupts...
EDG?
No, for RNG, actually.
Okay.
Let's see if they do.
Shin really disrupts a lot of what Edward Gaming like to do. We know that Scout likes to play aggressive, even on the Azir at early levels. And when you have Karma and Sejuani and you're already trying to shove in or match push, you can try to just create the jungle into a 3v3 instead of a 2v2.
I mean, frankly, I'd prefer a Fiora, just as a personal preference for this. Instead of going all in on a 5v5, the Shen has this really good utility there, especially around your jungle position. But for me, I would have split the map. I would have removed the top laner from existing, removed the Ornn from being a part of EDG's composition and tearing apart their 5v5.
100% agree with you. I think if it was Zatai, it was going to be that Fiora.
Yeah.
But Let Me, he just reads as a Shin player.
And I'm casting with 2 prophets today because I don't have to talk. They predict every single pick that's coming through. Shen locked in for RNG. Should be the top lane pick for Let Me. We'll have Karma going into mid lane with Braum protecting Uzi's Kog'Maw. final pick coming up from EDG is going to be Morgana once again.
And the thing is that's all about empowering the Uzi. I talked about kind of the curse of Morgana and the relationship that the LPL has had with this pick. It goes all the way back to 2014 when Limit Nation and Cloud9 smacked China on the All-Star stage in Paris. It just has never been something that gets going for us and has a 100% loss rate so far in the series.
And important to note that Morgana is picked for another form of hard crowd control through the bottom lane 2v2. The Trundle only has the pillar, the Ornn only has the slow for the first part of that, but if anything from the bottom lane connects, then those follow-ups are super impactful and can influence and start full team fights.
Every player from EDG has a kit that allows them to at least look for some form of initiation. When you're a team that looks to set up for fights and set up for objectives and don't like being disrupted, every bit counts. They've got a lot of it.
But that's why it was so dangerous and why I agree with Rusty for the Fiora. If RNG had decided to split the map to try to take that big battleship apart, that would be how RNG have blitzed and beaten EDG in the past. This time around, they're looking for the Shin, and Shin and Sejuani must get into that backline, and I don't know how they do it with this composition.
You can tell that it's a planned strategy. You can tell it's meditated. They brought Let Me in for this match as well. But don't forget that they are against Clearlove. When we said RNG hit 100% in Game 2, EDG will be doing that right now. We get to see what is effectively a best of 3 when everyone starts from their unlimited potential.
Now, every single sixth man, Clearlove coming out from EDG, Let Me, as well as Casa or MLXG, depending on who you think should have started this series, have joined in this match. They are all ready to commit, and these two teams, as you mentioned, Rusty, still a best of 3 on their hands after it's been all tied up heading into Game 3. They can still swap out in the rest of the series as one of these teams will now head to match point with a win. RNG looking for their first title for both Zatai as well as Uzi, the uncrowned king.
We've seen the heights of RNG. It doesn't get any better than this. They played the Zatai, they played the MLXG. Now we get to see the heights from Edward Gaming. There is nothing past Clearlove. The first health bar has been taken down. You are now on the real one. Who is the star of the league? Clearlove or Uzi?
With everything tied up, match point is now on the line. One team here will be one step closer not only to an LPL title, but also that ticket to MSI.
And we got to get onto the Rift in an absolute cacophony of screams from both respective teams. There is no harmony between EDG and RNG. They are completely split across the entire stadium.
Good word.
It is a great word. I had to Google to make sure I was right. I was.
I never doubted you.
We're getting onto this match, onto the Rift for game number 3. As you mentioned, Letnamy's been brought in. He's picked up Shen in the top lane, more of a facilitator, someone looking to go into team fights with RNG. Has the ultimate when he hits level 6 and teleport available to do just that.
And as Cloud9 just historically seems to have a read on how to destroy LPL teams, let's go back to Coach Reaper and what he said about Scout in the World Championship, that Shin would be the perfect pick against Edward Gaming, particularly Scout, because he just doesn't know how to tune it back. He doesn't think about the stand united. He always wants to step forward. He's never gonna, wuss out and step backwards. So all eyes on Let Me to see how he can disrupt that mid lane. And like I said, it's not about the 2v2 now, it's about trying to create that 3v2, 3v3.
Getting the numbers mismatched. I will say that it's at least a cleanse Azir this time around. It's not going to be a Lucian that commits all or nothing, so there is something a little bit back in the way of EDG. And when you look at the 2v2 skirmish, where the 3 can influence it, the 2 is a standalone, Karma and Sejuani, lots of crowd control, not an extraordinary amount of damage. For the side of EDG, it's actually really hard to skirmish as a 2v2 at all with a Trundle and Azir. You would be moving that to the other side of the map, or you would be bringing the other parts of the map towards mid. So I'm looking towards earlier 5v5s, and in a prototypical EDG fashion, get it to about 8 minutes, go bottom lane, send 5, and try and win then.
Let's see if they can do just that, because already in the bottom side of the map, RNG are on the back foot. Yes, Uzi's trying to keep up with farm as much as he can, but it's 8 CS to 13, and EDG don't look like they're going to release any pressure anytime soon, because Varus and Morgana just constantly pushing.
Yeah, it's just about the defense. You have double teleport on Karma as well as the Shen. Hopefully the stand united will be available when EDG do look to make that big, 8 to 10 minute dive bottom. And if RNG survive that, then you're looking at very similar power spikes, very similar skirmish opportunities And that's where their composition wants to be.
And when you speak towards surviving, you can see the ward that Let Me just placed. That is such a big deal for the top lane. And the reason that he's able to do that is it was like 15-4 CS. There was nothing that an Ornn could do. And that is just such a strong matchup for Shen to start it off. When you taunt him, even if he has the shield, the follow-up from an Ornn to proc the Brittle is an auto attack. Shen counters that. Shen gets pushed early even when he shouldn't, because that's not the kind of champion he is. And it unlocks the capabilities to push forwards and get vision. EDG, very early play.
Yeah, they want this Cloud Dragon. 3 minutes and 39 seconds into the match. Clearlove takes way too much damage, but Mako, as well as Iboy, with the pressure they created bottom lane, are able to rotate and pick up the first elemental of this game.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of sacrificing that much for a Cloud Dragon. Obviously, the opportunity was there for them. My big thing about Cloud is it's just so difficult to take down. If it was something like an Ocean or an Infernal, which will A, beef you up later on or beef you up in the lane phase, then I could understand the priority. So I feel like this is about opening up earlier access to Elder Dragon, or trying to time your Dragon on where Edward Gaming think that they're going to be spiking, and then trying to bait RNG to fight them on a Varus or an Azir power spike.
It could even be as simple as just being afraid of going into the Sejuani's jungle as the Trundle, and they've got to push through the 2v2. So
I might as well.
Yeah, exactly. You just take it because it's free and it's there for you to take in that instance. And it's a nice little Drake to have, especially through the early game when a Trundle needs to be getting into better positions to get ganks.
Well, we saw that MLG was able to take the large Krug, but that's it. That's all he got during the time that Dragon was picked up by EDG. And despite them rotating towards that objective, there's still RNG are struggling in this bottom lane. And we expect this for some time until the team compositions come online.
And ultimately, it means that around 10 minutes, the Mountain Dragon's going to be live, and that's not where RNG are going to be strong at that moment. Maybe unless they can make something happen in the mid lane with the Sejuani ultimate, but you're still looking at a Varus and a Ornn and a Trundle that are going to be putting so much more work if that comes to a big 5v5. So it could mean that Edward Gaming just get the free secondary Drake.
Finally get to check in with the top side of the map. Let Me was able to push in Ray very early on. Eventually, Ornn's going to be able to even up this matchup, but Stand United will be available for Shen. Ray forced to use his teleport if he wants to look for a skirmish later on. He can try and look for these cross-map plays. As you mentioned, bottom lane is going to be the big impact point. Already first base coming out from Xiao, who goes and picks up an Aegis nice and early. Should be a Banner of Command, we expect, very early in the matchup.
Yep, once again, when you're playing into Azir, we often see Scions into Azir. Scion has push early, Scion goes Banner of Command, Azir has a very bad time. Karma is the ranged version, effectively, of that exact matchup, so should still have a lot of control in the mid lane 1v1, which ultimately, when you're running teleport, unlocks you to go elsewhere on the map for free. You could walk down there still and threaten teleports elsewhere.
The Unsealed Spellbook being used on Ming right there, so trading over to the TP just to make sure that Uzi doesn't miss the cannon wave. So playing very greedy around his ADC to try to maximize these resources does mean that he's not going to have that kill summoner, either the Exhaust or the Ignite, if MLXG and Let Me want to look bottom at all. So should note that if this comes to a 3v3 or 4v4 bot side.
Still patch 8.6 as well, so with none of the big cannon minion changes have gone through just yet. So it's still important for RNG, but they wouldn't have sacrificed too much. Uzi is staying very even in that bottom lane though. Iboy has gotten a chance to go back to base, and now Uzi be able to do the same thing, slowly equalizing that bottom lane matchup.
Yeah, it's actually been even in farm, even when being pushed in. And a lot of that, again, is EDG. They leave lane to help the Drake. They sacrifice a little bit of a CS lead, perhaps health advantage or push lead. They acknowledge that they go towards the objective. So RNG, they're still sitting pretty. But when you look towards that 10-minute spike, like FLICKR mentioned earlier, Shen is the place that you have to be looking. He's got control for the most part, especially rushing the Tiamat. He's going to be matching on. He's going to rotate faster.
Yeah, that's going to be the difference in the X factor. If they can find the pick with the Shen, if he can deny some sort of engage, Edward Gaming extend too far and then punish, then it goes in RNG's favor. If this is just a draw the line in the sand, front to back, EDG will be stronger at that 10-minute mark.
Let Me's played this matchup very well. Ornn has been forced to teleport back into lane. Let Me didn't even need to use his teleport. Now he has both Stand United and teleport available. Cross-map play will not cost RNG too much, even if they botch the play.
And of course, to give further context to that as well, Ornn is one of the few champions that doesn't need to recall or can get item advantages in lane and control the 1v1. But Let Me had it from level 1. He had control, and he did force that teleport, which does mean EDG can't do it. They can't look for a fight. It'd be so risky to look towards. And MLXG is level 6. He is in.
He's going to be spotted now by the control ward. Heal being used by Uzi just to get a little bit more crowd control. They collapse it towards Mako, but Black Shield's going to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Flash away, flash forward from MLXG. They slow him down. Mako does get stunned, but he's still alive. Clearlove now with the counter. Teleport's coming in from Karma. Stand United's coming in from Let Me. They're looking for a fight, but it's a cancel from Ray. It's a 4-on-4 in the bottom lane. side. RNG do get the first kill. Scout will rotate down towards bottom side of the map, but it's only a single pick for RNG.
And there was that attempted X Factor. We tried to get Let Me in there, but they didn't need it because Xiao, who got the earlier rotation, locked out Scout and allowed his team to commit to chase to find the kill.
When you swing towards the teleport advantage, Ray did his job. Ray cancelled the Shen, sure, but there was still a shield. The shield is relevant in keeping the AD carry alive. Clearlove is actually the member who completely overextends and disrespects the Shen. Even though the call was there from EDG, you can tell Ray said he can cancel it. He can't cancel the shield, he can't kill anyone, Clearlove, and so he is just up a creek without a paddle. He's in a bad position, but he's forced to commit and trust in Scout, who was zoned.
We can take a look at that fight again. RNG forced this, even heal being earned, used so early to collapse.
Yeah, and first and foremost, props to Mako. That was beautiful to start it off, and it does buy them so much time to try to look for a way to turn this. But again, Edward Gaming and overextending, overcommitting. I'd like to hear a more iconic duo, and Shin being their undoing.
Yeah, frankly, with the 2v2 having already escaped, it was brilliant, not even just from Mako, from iBoy, flashing to actually not get hit by the Braum, knowing that the distance was the most important part. So many pieces actually came together to successfully disengage for EDG, but then they chose to go back.
Let Me still has that teleport advantage. Didn't use it to get back into the top lane after being cancelled by Ray. Hasn't used it to go back to base just yet either. On's teleport is still on cooldown as well. There is a window for RNG to do this again.
And speaking of not going to base though, Fish, there is no window unless Uzi decides to have a cheeky recall somewhere in the next couple of minutes. iBoy and Mako, they're good to go. They're strong. The CS lead is growing down there, and they are now threatening the turret.
Which is why you can see Scout also trying to cheat in, clearing out some of this vision, but Clearlove's on the wrong side of the map.
Oh, that's awkward.
That hurts.
MLXD.
That's like everything possible went wrong with that.
But again, because Clearlove's on the wrong side of the map, iBoy and Mako can't fully punish this, and now Scout has been pulled back to mid as the Banner of Command is finally completed, and Azir is not going to be leaving here anytime soon.
But they go for a play out to Xiaohu. Pixel, perfect flash, gets him over the ultimate thrown out by Azir. Trades back in, gets some damage for himself. Clearlove was called into the mid lane, looking for that gank, and on top of that, dealing with the Banner of Command minion thrown there.
And this is consistently seen in the LPL. Trundle comes to the lane to help the Azir. There is a chance that he even goes towards the Targons as well against the Relic and actually gets rid of the cannon even faster. That's what you'll see from Clearlove. But if you want to know what depressing looks like, you watch an Azir with Sand Soldiers up, try and auto-attack a Banner of Command cannon minion, because they do magic damage. He doesn't hurt it with anything besides auto-attack.
Which means RNG now have control over the neutral vision in the river. They've secured the Scuttle Crab, and they're going to start pushing their vision more offensively into Edward Gaming's jungle.
Slowly but surely, they'll do just that. Mountain Dragon is going to be the next dragon that spawns as well. As you mentioned, it's already online for EDG to take if they want, but RNG do have control over the area. Ornn's teleport is coming back off of cooldown, but Stand United is ready for Let Me as well. He doesn't need to use that teleport. He's already gone back to base as well.
No flash on iBoy or Mako there, so it would just be the black shield for kind of the last line of defense if that dive came through. And you can see that's exactly what RNG had on their mind. Karma and Sejuani both threatening down the river and making use of the vision that they completely control.
Yeah, both of the engage tools down there from both the Braum and the Sejuani, if she were to go in, does have a form of AoE on it as well. So whoever gets black shielded, the other person is most likely going to die without their flash ready. That is a dangerous prospect for EDG, and that is why the passivity starts to appear from them.
Great setup and good vision control coming out from RNG, but they haven't been able to make the play just yet. Checking with the gold leads that have been picked up by RNG so far, it's dead even in the mid lane. It's only small advantages for the top side of the map, where jungler and top have picked up some, but it's iBoy who is currently leading against Uzi.
But the thing is we're really looking at a tug of war over vision. So the reason why Uzi and Ming decided to pull back is because Clearlove finally found a foot in RNG's jungle, and yeah, he didn't get to place any of that vision, but he was spotted by the control wards. And so Uzi and Ming, heads up, knew that he was there. MLXG now knows that there's going to be vision in the pixel brush, so he's clearing it out. And just back and forth for the last 3 to 5 minutes, it's just been about this vision control over neutral river.
And RNG, since they formed in the LPL, this is a team that has gone to every final. They have been dominant. They've only picked up a single win, and that was without Uzi on the roster. They're looking to try and get him his crown. Because again, this is a player that's been to back-to-back World Championship finals. Not even able to pick up a win there. The only titles he has under his belt at the moment are the All-Star titles.
Well, you want to talk about dominance. Edward Gaming have a 77 win rate, or 77% win rate once they're in finals. The only team to ever take a final from them was RNG without Uzi.
But since then, ClearLove, he's the consistent member. He's
Certainly
played
is.
with EDG in all those finals. They've said it time and time again, he is the thorn in Uzi's side, the one that gets into his head when the game counts. And perfect time to bring him out. Everything's dead even. This is what we expected in this series. We expect it to go at least somewhat of a distance, not a 3-0 to either side.
That's the thing, though. You know, that both teams have gone towards a sort of scaling AD carry and mid laners. They're looking mid.
They're trying to collapse into MLXG, gets shoved back, but only ClearLove is in this fight. Stand United gets used on top of the tank. They try to turn back around on towards ClearLove. It could be his second death. Forced to flash away, but damage over time is ticking. Not enough to take him down. RNG rotate more members in, and they're still collapsing on the Xiao. Ray gets the knock up, but that's going to be the disengage.
Where were you for the great Vision Wars of 2018 spring? We've, again, still been fighting over the wards. Finally, Edward Gaming felt that they had the numbers advantage, forgot about the Shen again, or at least didn't respect how quickly he would rotate. ClearLove managed to scrape out, but just barely.
Yeah, constantly trying to be vigilant around the Azir engages in the middle lane. We mentioned the crowd control that's there for EDG, but between mid-jungle, it's sparing. It's not legitimate crowd control. You've got a knockback, you've got a slow, you've got a pillar. They're a bit awkward, and it's not easy to just net a kill off the bat like that. So it is a bit awkward. They can disengage RNG. The reinforcements can arrive, and ultimately it dissipates with a lot of low health members and summoner spells, but they were used by EDG exclusively, those summoners.
And Edward Gaming really haven't been able to capitalize off of the early momentum that they had in terms of controlling the river. Since about probably about 7 minutes ago, it feels like it's completely flipped, and RNG have now kind of created this bunker that they're just hunkering down in, and they just call Shin when they need. And that's exactly what the composition wants. This is all about the scaling, it's all about the Kog'Maw, and Edward Gaming, the pressure is actually on them. They need to make these types of plays work. They need to somehow crack the defense that RNG have mounted in this early game and make use of this Varus.
I mean, frankly, they've got 20 minutes, I'd say at most, from this point onwards until RNG just become an indomitable team fighting composition. That Kog'Maw already has an item, is working towards the second, and will be unstoppable late game.
They might try and attack here because Mountain Dragon has to be started. EDG have set up inside a control ward bush. On ultimate comes out, forces Xiaohu to flash away, but that's a single summoner spell being burnt by RNG. They tried to break open the map by attacking Dragon, but that seems like the only objective they will get if they still try to force the fight.
RNG is still looking, teleporter in as well.
MLXG steals that away from ClearLove. Take that, I am back, not you. Xiaohu still trying to collapse, locking down Scout. He tries to slide away from the fight. iBoy fighting this one over the wall in the choke point against RNG. Nobody falls, but objective stolen by RNG.
And we expected this Dragon would be contested much earlier, closer to the 10-minute mark. RNG were able to stall out to try to get a fight for it around 16 minutes. And even then, Edward Gaming's 5v5 composition is still very terrifying to chase into. The Varus had the Rage Blade, you have the Azir right there, but the steal, MLXG, the X factor there, just snatches it away, and the power spikes mean nothing.
Yeah, they should be blessed to have the steal at all, though. EDGs should be the ones who secured that Drake. They had control, they forced the flashes, but when you have to use the Ornn ultimate just to get one flash, not for the objective itself, you give an option, you give an opportunity, you give an avenue of entry to RNG to just walk in like this. No one's going to stop MLXG from at least being there for the 50-50. And now Mako and iBoy are routed. The chances of the kills were gone.
Stand United was down for Let Me, so he was forced to teleport into that team fight. But RNG, all they get is the Elemental Dragon for themselves. But does deny EDG attacking a point on the map, trying to open up the game for them. Now I really want to see where do they attack next, because they have to do something and something soon. If not, this man on your screen, Uzi, he's going to be unlocked and come online.
And that's the thing, they decide that they're no longer about the 2v2, there's no reason to be down there, it's the Dragon. So instead they're going to try to put RNG on the back foot and swing up Australian lane style. So we've now pushed our bot lane towards the top side, and even ClearLove looking for a cheeky gank to try to catch Let Me sleeping.
But towards those bottom lanes, there is already one style difference that will be super crucial for the coming fight. It's a QSS from Uzi to a Zeal from iBoy. No heal from either AD carry means that if someone gets caught, they can die, and ClearLove's in.
He's been caught slightly here, but takes no damage. Black Shield keeps him alive a little bit longer. Ming using his cleanse to stay alive, and Chains of Corruption's worth spreading. RNG have already taken a lot of damage to start this fight. Ornn ultimate only gets a knock up onto Xiaohu in the back lines. Again, EDG and RNG respecting each other a lot in these skirmishes. Both teams disengage before anyone falls.
And if you're Edward Gaming, you're feeling very confident right now. They know that they're stronger right now in the grouped up 5v5, and they also feel that if this game does go later, they still have the insurance policy of Scout on the Azir.
Well, they've got a banner command of their own now, and they're trying to charge through mid lane. Minion Dematerializer gets used. I believe it was the last one being used by RNG as well to take away that banner command. Minion and Uzi is still farming top side of the map. EDG is staying 5 members strong.
EDG don't need to leave mid lane if they've got an AD carry visible on the top side of the map, so they just get themselves a turret for Uzi to pick up 2 odd waves. And why am I not surprised at all that RNG are happy to do that?
We see this time and time again that Uzi won't be grouped up with the team, and it does cost RNG. Now, the question is it actually worth it? And 9 times out of 10, it was. But in a finals where it's Uzi versus ClearLove, history tells me that it's probably not.
Credit where it's worth, though. They'd already lost a skirmish. They weren't feeling confident, so I think they were going to sack it regardless. And they're like, I'll take a couple of waves for Uzi, it's worth it. But you're absolutely right. It doesn't feel right.
We have to take context of where this game is at the moment, though, because despite the fact that RNG sacked their mid lane out to turret, they were only 1,000 gold ahead before this, and they're still 1,000 gold ahead in what you guys are telling me is a scaling team composition. They should still feel comfortable in this, even though they can't see the gold leads for themselves.
The nature of these compositions, though, is that gold lead really isn't going to mean anything. It's about where the fights are being set up in terms of in the open fights, in closed fights, or wide angle fights, and then the execution of it, just because these comps both have the scaling options, they both have the mid-game power spike options. Like, you can look at gold lead as much as you want, but it's really not going to be indicative of how close this series will be and how it's going to come down to the intimate details about how these team compositions and these players overlap.
I mean, the first and biggest thing is that there's no Tahm Kench this time around. So Uzi is in it for himself just that little bit more. He had to build a QSS. He is going to go hopefully towards the Wit's End to try and survive through Azir. Because when you look at both team compositions, Scout has to die first and Uzi has to die first if either team is going to find success. And that's where the styles start to shift and work around. But I do think the Karma makes the difference here. Having the shield, being able to protect Uzi is significant, whereas Mako needs to protect iBoy. He's not actually there to help Scout.
And it's the fact that they have to go front to back of your RNG. You need to go through that tank lane. You need to go through the Azir. You don't have many options to immediately blitz into the back line. Whereas EDG, I feel like they get a bit more flexibility into how they attack, just because they can separate and move pieces with the Ornn ultimate as well as the Azir ultimate.
Which is crucial because, yes, Tahm Kench is a big pick that can protect Uzi, but now that they've got a Braum, a Karma, and Shen, as well as a very tanky MLHG who picks up a lot of crowd control, they have to separate these key components away from the Mad Dog. Not allow him to be protected in these team fights. Like, the EDG are now going to try and see if they can attack top side of the map. This start's going to take quite a bit of damage. RNG have to step up and try and defend this.
A lot of the defense right now is just having Uzi's ultimates and Sejuani being nearby also. Xiaohu's actual response isn't to rotate. Again, he can threaten with the teleport. Shen can threaten with the ultimate and the teleport. The difficulty here for RNG is navigating when they're not making the play. How are they going to set up to hold something and defend something when they're not going forwards? That's the concern here for them. And EDG can slowly whittle away objectives, can poke, can chip, and they can start to take them down if RNG don't go.
And they're going to try and attack the bottom side of the map. Ray is forced to flash away from Xiaohu. Double teleport on these two champions means they can make that play even with Baron left up and on a line at 21 minutes in.
And they're just buying time for Uzi, buying him waves because he's just parked it up into the top side. He's accumulating all of this farm, all of this gold. Yes, iBoy's keeping up with him, but this is RNG just directing and pulling Edward Gaming from top to mid to bottom. He is driving them across this map.
But they are setting up RNG. They've got the Sejuani Braum combo. With a Cog mod, those passives can get popped really quickly. Braum assisting Sejuani and all three champions helping out with Braums. They're waiting to see if EDG return towards top side of the map.
No, there's no Morgana this time.
Poor iBoy steps up. Flash! What an instant flash! iBoy is an absolute monster! Turns around and says, I will take all of you on. Step down, King. I'm ready to take your throne again.
This is a perfect example of why we hype up iBoy. Yes, he has the hubris. He doesn't always think he shouldn't have been there. But if you give him the split-second reaction time, he nailed it.
There are not many players in the world that will be able to flash in that situation. It was coming from the side of him. He wasn't ready, but he was ready with the flash because his reactions are just that sick. That was your wild turtle right there.
My goodness. Although RNG get the play there, iBoy was playing out of his mind in that single skirmish. No one falls, only a turret going to RNG. They take a small lead for themselves, but still, Impressive from the young carry of EDG.
Shen ult, Sejuani ult, and Braum ult were used in the making of that gank as well. So there's an opportunity for EDG to still utilize the lack of ultimates and try and get a trade for themselves if they want to push forwards. But it's about how they're feeling. Can they? And I think the answer is yes, because they've hit 2 item spikes.
It's also about what objective do they actually want to target and try to force right now. Unfortunately, we're late enough in the game that it's the Baron. If it's a Rift Hill, they 100% commit there because they feel like we have the Coliseum, they don't have the cooldowns, we can try to take this fight. But if anything goes wrong in front of the Baron pit, they're 2 steps back versus 1 step forward.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, EDG are just kind of hamstrung that they want to strike, but there's nothing on the map to really grab.
However, RNG showing their mastery of how they are able to split apart the map, especially against a team like EDG who are looking to group up as they did in their Howling Abyss session to take down mid lane outer turret. They've done it once again. They send Xiaohu into the bottom lane. Karma is able to use Banner of Command minions to continue pushing through. They take down bottom lane outer turret. That's 2 turrets picked up by RNG. The only outer turret left is going to be in the mid lane.
Baron may be risky, but I think they're going to do it. I have a strong feeling with a Varus and an Azir that they will take that down incredibly quickly. Even saw Sand Soldiers used around the area until they noticed that the Scuttle Crab was there. You've got that inclination from the way they're hovering that it may be a major objective.
The thing is I feel like they need to prep. Okay, I'll say this. I wish that they would prep a bit more by taking down the top tower so they can get vision more comfortably deeper into RNG's blue side jungle. But I do agree with you, Rusty. Watching enough tape of these teams, I have a feeling that we're going to feel pretty frisky and maybe take a risky call.
So far, these 2 teams have been very cautious when they've approached the Baron buff. So we'll have to see if EDG do move towards that objective. They're still behind RNG at this stage. Still 2,000 gold behind RNG's roster.
Again, we talk about morale, momentum all the time. I know that the Death said it, and I'm going to just repeat it here. Clearlove is the oldest guy in this game right now. He's actually 24 years old. That means a lot in Chinese culture. He is effectively the big brother. And so when you do have him on the roster, it's not just the shot calling. It's not just the mechanics. It's also just that grounding of having someone that you can look to and say, what do we do next?
I mean, we heard the crowd when Clearlove stepped into play. We hear the crowd whenever an ad runs on the big screens with Clearlove's face in it. Everyone is here to watch, and even if you're an RNG fan, you know who he is, and you have to be afraid because he's taken down the carry of RNG before. He wants to do it again. Big morale boost for EDG. We'll have to see if it's going to be enough to tip this series in their favor.
Well, right now he needs to organize them because they are just kind of losing objectives for free. The fact that RNG were able to find the tempo, turned around, push down mid, and they have not been forced out of this river. But the vision has expired. Edward Gaming might find their opportunity.
Yeah, now it's a complete reset time. That was not an intentional start of the Baron, no one worry. But as the vision does set up, there's 1 ward left. 2 wards from RNG. Let's spot them. The EDG, they're hidden. They're completely gone from vision until just that moment, and it forced RNG to get close. Close was almost the pick, but EDG, they've just started.
1 cheeky ward spots them out. They still have Let Me split pushing by the side. Unless she gets caught out, throws out the ultimate. They collapse on towards Sejuani. Very tanky. He's not going to take too much damage. Scout sends Sand Soldiers into the back line. MLSG is low. Uzi's at half health.
And again, there's not a lot of options for RNG to penetrate this composition. Between the Trundle Pillar as well as the Azir Sand Soldiers, Edward Gaming's comp can destroy them in choke points.
Wait for the horn from Ray. That's the go button for EDG.
Xiaohu tries to speed himself up, gets Stand United in as RNG collapsing towards the pit. It could be a 50-50. Horn comes out. Clearlove is almost dead in the back lines. Baron has a beat hit. RNG find the team fight. Uzi's still alive. And Muller still gone. He smites the Baron. He takes them away from EDG.
And Spring has come for Xiaohu because I know it's MLXG that finds the glory there. He secures the Baron, but Xiaohu ran into the back line, completely denied both iBoy and Scout, and secured the fight.
What looked like a good play from EDG. They had the chunk out, they had the pokes, they were set for the objective, completely split in 2 and torn apart by RNG in the subsequent fight. And now the map belongs to them.
To make matters worse for EDG, iBoy's flash is just coming off of cooldown. That play they made topside, which looked flashy from him, could have costed him that team fight there. No summoner spell available for Varus to get away from the onslaught of RNG. And you said it best, Frostgren. They didn't set up for this Baron. They went for it, and there was nothing EDG could do when RNG eventually collapsed.
They didn't have the proper vision denial. They didn't have the secured vision around the pit itself to give RNG the heads up that it was happening, and they didn't have the deep enough vision to check which angles they were being flanked on.
And you thought Banner of Command was difficult for an Azir. Now you've got Baron and Banner of Command to get through. It's nearly impossible, and they siege in mid lane RNG. EDG's only resolve now is to try and force a fight, you would have to expect, but it's an Ornn as their best bet. A Varus ultimate, which is a miracle to hit and a carry at all. They are just going to start to lose the map again, reminiscent of Game 2.
Splitting apart EDG, allowing them no opportunity to find a way to fight back against the onslaught of RNG. No way for them to set up something that they are great at. Tearing them apart limb for limb, only giving them hope in Game 1 so far.
So we take another look at that. All eyes on Xiaohu. Look at this guy. Karma with the shin on top of him. That's both carries of Edward Gaming locked out to the side. Excuse me, Mako and iBoy. Scout still in the pit, but it just creates so much space for the rest of RNG to do the work.
Yeah, and it's all in the objective, remember, in the Baron pit. So EDG are chunked out, they've lost resistances, they're not fully equipped to fight, and Raven held his ultimate for as long as he possibly could to try and perhaps secure the objective, but Braum had the door ready. There was no counterplay from EDG once they were split.
RNG find the big team fight, acquire themselves a 7,000 gold lead. Now Uzi, 3 items strong, Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, as well as the Winsu's Rage Blade complete, even a QSS to protect himself. On top of that, he's got Zeke's being picked up by Ming and Xiaohu with the massive shield, Stand United and Ardent Sensor. How do you take him down now?
That's all business.
He's a big boy.
We said at the start,
right now.
we said at the start of the series, he's here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and he's doing that so far. He's going to continue doing just that. RNG are protecting the puppy, and he's trying to take down his demon. Clearlove has not had a great set so far in the single game he's played.
And we said it, you know, Clearlove isn't necessarily known for the Trundle pick. Yes, he has shown it in 2018, but I believe 1 game on it, but it's much more about the Sejuanias.
EDG.
Just gonna walk away.
They're trying to attack the bottom side of the map, and everyone else just says, let's go top.
They have a second banner of command. They're able to pressure multiple places at once. It's not just a 1-3-1, it's a constant rotisserie of lane assignments, and now they push top.
RNG are swarming Summoner's Rift. There is no one point of focus. They will tear you apart, split you across the map, and destroy every structure that stands in your base. Shurima turret's going to fall, allowing the inhibitor to be opened once again. Uzi's not afraid to be in front of his entire team because he has all the protection he needs to dive into the base and take down these structures.
The last line of defense for Edward Gaming is Scout on this Azir, but as you were saying, there are just so many tools to allow Uzi to step up confidently and try to go tit for tat in terms of range.
It's simple as a Braum door being able to stop an Orn engage, and when you look at EDG's follow-up to that, there is nothing that can successfully lock down a QSS Cogmore. He is so safe to stand there and take down structures when they have the Baron available. When the Baron is gone, Scout can clear waves. EDG can hold on, they can push them out, can push them away, and for RNG, they broke the base, so they're set to succeed from this point onwards. If the base wasn't broken, they just got to it, EDG was still in.
At this point, Edward Gaming just needs to get creative about how they're going to reach Uzi, because they can't run front to back, which means that as RNG charge the base, probably up the mid lane since it is the last standing inhib tower available, they need to make sure that they get the early sweep, place that vision, know that those pathways are clear, and try to look for some sort of flanking maneuver or the Shurima shuffle.
I'm really curious to see if they can even get that flanking maneuver, because RNG are patient. They know they can play this one methodically. We saw in the last match, LSG was happy to burn Ragnarok on Olaf to clear out vision, and then reset and look for the fights again. And it seems like with Baron buff expiring, RNG going to be able to do just that. You said, Rusty, that with the base being broken, it doesn't seem like EDG can put up a last stand. For us, you think that it's going to be a creative point. We're really going to have to see, because if EDG can't find the last stand and can't find access back into this game, that puts RNG at match point for the finals.
I just think the last stand is out of desperation, and it's going to be awkward when they use it, right? You can't actually do anything other than hit a Morgana Binding or a Varus ultimate, and then they can defend that. Right now, with one inhibitor broken, they don't need to put Xiaohu on a side lane. They don't need to 1-3-1. They don't need to 0-3-2. They just put Shen by himself. They put Karma with Uzi, and he is the safest puppy in League of Legends right now, who will have a grand time walking up and hitting you in the face, threatening you.
Super Minions are slowly collapsing on the top side of the map. EDG were able to put up at least somewhat of defense. They mustered a guerrilla team together to defend bottom lane inhibitor, but the inhibitor turret still fell. Baron's coming up in a minute, a lot of points for RNG to try and attack, and Uzi's just getting stronger and stronger.
And it's RNG just recognizing that they need to play out the map in order to really secure this victory for themselves. Again, tension's still very high. This is the game decider. This is who is going to match point. Is it going to be Edward Gaming? Is it going to be RNG? So there's no reason to try to force something. Just wait for the Baron.
Exactly. Baron up in 50 seconds. Why not go for the objective? Set up vision on the bottom side of the map as well. Maybe you get a pick beforehand. If you get a pick, Baron's free, or an inhibitor is free, and then you just win by default. But they do play it safely for very good reason. Baron wins the game for them if they get this next one.
They even wait for Uzi to pick up his 5th item. Hurricane is already complete, so he's at 80% crit with the Gwinsu's Rage Blade and still waiting for the Mercurial Scimitar to be complete on this Kog'Maw. If you cast your mind back to the last split, in this scenario, RNG were 2-0 up, and this was the start of EDG's reverse sweep. You have to think that Uzi must be feeling a lot more comfortable now. Yes, they dropped game 1, but now they have momentum of game 2, and if they win this set, they have momentum going into match point as well.
I mean, we'll talk about it time and time again, momentum, but I'm almost on the idea that RNG, like Uzi is not going to breathe a sigh of relief until he is physically lifting that trophy. I think this is going to be a very tense series to the very bitter end.
And it still is in this match. RNG are not taking any chances. Baron has respawned, but they're still letting Let Me do his thing. Split pushing on the top side of the map.
And look at bot lane, it's also got the slow push shoving in, so there's going to be multiple waves and multiple problems that are crashing in for Edward Gaming.
Scout's not clearing that. The tower's clearing that for him. Right? Is this little slugger that could.
Clearlove, what are you doing over there? Takes a lot of damage trying to lock him down, but the ultimate's going to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Tries to jump back in. Chucked out. Uzi fights the final auto attack against this demon. RNG get a pick and they're looking for Baron.
He was buying time for Scout to get here. They store him top lane. They make the play. Now they get the Baron for free with the jungler gone. EDG completely routed.
And that's the thing, if you crack Clearlove, you crack Edward Gaming. It's the captain, the shot caller, the eldest member on the team, the mentor who went down, gave away the Baron. This is RNG's game to clean out.
They found Boy, tried to flash away, but Uzi gets the final auto attack. Another one bites the dust, and there's chance of RNG in the entire stadium at the moment.
2 dead right now. Banner of command with the Baron pushing in mid lane. That's 3 inhibitors as a bare minimum from both of those picks. They catch iBoy. They get the youngest member after the most experienced member, and they are propped to win.
Uzi is not just hungry for this, he is starved for it. He is about to go 1 game away from his title. Fish!
Still slow and steady, but he wants everyone dead before he closes out this match. Triple kill for the Kog'Maw. The 4th one falls, and now RNG, they are at match point.
And there's the smiles on the faces from RNG this time around. The pressure is off. Clearlove comes in, the demon comes in. He wants to take the victory, perhaps give EDG the advantage, but not to be seen. Now RNG, they're hopeful. There is smiles. They're in good hopes coming into the potential last game. That's a scary thing for EDG to go up against.
When you talk big, you have the chance that you could fall off those big words, and hitting reality hurts hard. Clearlove said, I'm the star of the league. That is not the face of a star right now, and that is not the performance of a star.
He even said that he's back. Clearlove said, I am back. But MLSG had a response to that. No, you are not. I am the one who's back. He is the one who knocks, and he's played so well the games that RNG have started him.
Yeah, we can call it a best of 3 though, and that is a 1-0 to the strongest roster of RNG. EDG still have a chance. They still have the possibilities to bounce back, and coming into that next game, the Trundle priority is something that does seem interesting to me watching Clearlove. He did have the Sejuani as an option. Remember, he had every jungler in his toolkit there for him to lock. He chose the Trundle, he chose to have an awkward 2v2, and RNG, they didn't lose their lanes.
I'm just gonna be frank though, I spy with my little eye a new meme, and it's 2.2k. Clearlove was non-existent that game. Yes, he likes to play more of a pressure, tempo-oriented jungle pattern, but let's be frank. If you're gonna come in, if you're gonna be the star, you need to show up.
And that's now 3 games in a row where Uzi is leading the damage for his team. Always putting a lot of pressure on him, but always providing the tools to protect this Kog'Maw, to protect his AD carries. 21,600 damage. He wants to be the one that brings RNG over the finish line.
And that's the thing, RNG, they were actually prepared this time around. You watch them in game number 1 when they put priority on the Kog'Maw. They didn't really draft a composition for Uzi. This time they did. They protected the puppy, they actually empowered him to win, and they won very handily.
They raised him up, and he's able to pick up a victory in game number 3. Now RNG at match point, but to break it down a little bit further, let's send it back to the analyst desk.
It could finally be upon us. I know the words have been said before many times,
Yep.
but it's one game away before the crownless king picks up his first domestic win. I mean, 2018, so many things have changed in League of Legends. We've got the upsets in North America, in Europe, in the LCK. Will the LPL follow suit, gentlemen?
It looks like it. RNG, you already mentioned it, Clement. Talent upon talent. All right, I give it to you, man. I can give it to you. I'm a flip-flopper for a reason.
Okay.
I actually want to come back to that a little bit later and talk about your prediction. But first, we actually have to break down this matchup because, again, this was just clean drafting from RNG. They have fixed their Game 1 problem. They moved it forward into Game 2 and then even took the on-the-fly spin of Let Me in the top lane.
Yeah, inexplicably just changing their drafting order on this one because we talked about going into Game 3. We were wondering, are they just going to stick towards the Olaf?
Yeah.
There's no reason not to at that point. But they showcased Karma, get the priority pick on that. That was the first pick for themselves, obviously going towards Xiaohu because Xiaohu's played it time and time again. And remember, when Karma's been picked up by Xiaohu, Uzi's KDA is 35 and 14.
Yeah. Absolutely massive. It was 23, 5, and 12 before the game started, but now with that 7-0-2 performance, it's even bigger.
Yeah, and he goes straight towards the supportive build as well. So that's a major point of contention here is the fact that he's just buffing up Uzi, and in the laning phase, he's making Azir a marathon runner.
Yeah, we have to talk about this because I felt like this was a huge slip up from the EDG draft reception. They thought, we take care of the Scion. It's all good and done.
Yep.
And then they're like, wait a minute, every pick is a Scion right now? And that was just brutal to watch. Just to get back on your Olaf thing, I think taking away Olaf is because they don't want Clearlove to have tempo. There's a difference between Clearlove and Olaf. Trundle. Trundle can really fight anyone, but Olaf can clear faster than anyone. That's a big difference. They didn't want Clearlove to be running each side of the map so fast over there. And to touch on Karma, RNG actually have never lost in the playoffs right now when they first pick Karma. This is an absolute massive pick for them. It protects the Uzi, like you said, and it also gives you mid lane priority. This opens up so many floodgates.
Yeah, it's absolutely a successful strategy, at least for them in this Game 3. But we do have to talk more about how this match actually played out, because Clearlove came in, and again, he's Clearlove. He's the more experienced jungler between himself and Haro by years. And you could see the play from Edward Gaming in the beginning was set up, but it was the first blood that gave RNG the momentum they needed.
That's why, with the wealth of experience Clearlove has, it is a surprise that the gank went so poorly.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, it was a good job to EDG from escaping this gank. It was RNG that expended so many resources to try and nail someone down, and when they finally did, it was underneath the tower.
Yeah, I do have to say that they got all of the summoners away from EDG before they spent the flash on themselves. And Clearlove, this is just a bone-headed pick right here. It's actually not Scout who forgets the Shen. It's Clearlove, the person with the most experience right there. And Morgana, he couldn't come back in. He didn't have any flash anymore. Sure, he had an ult, but couldn't use it, so that just went really poorly. And that's really important because we're talking about EDG. The last two games, they lose their first tower. It doesn't look like they have a chance to come back.
You're exactly right. I mean, we saw Edward Gaming start to pick up some momentum in that mid game in which they rotated top and were able to use some tempo that they managed to pull out of almost nowhere to start trying to push and siege the turret, but they could not break it. Successful lane assignments from RNG put pressure on both mid and bottom lane. Took all three outer turrets before Edward Gaming could even get back on the map. And from there, it was just RNG smooth sailing until, of course, that Baron.
Yep, and it all comes down to the fact that EDG did have that one opening. A lot of the game, they were just running from one part of the map to other because Karma was essentially running rampant, but it went down to the Baron run. It was interesting because EDG had it under lockdown, had good vision control, except for that one rogue ward on the right side of the pit that caught Varus going back and forth. And when Varus finally committed, it was RNG that ran straight towards it and cut them up.
Yeah, and again, all it takes is just one little slip up for the whole thing to fall apart. We've actually got that Baron fight for you right now, so we can see how it worked out. Because it was touch and go, it was 4 members of RNG walking into 5, and then Xiaohu splitting off to separate Ivory.
Start of this, Sejuani does not have her ultimate right here. EDG actually think the Shen is supposed to go on the Kog'Maw. That's why they're standing in that position. Xiaohu calls him out on it, gets Stand United on himself, and walks straight towards the carry. They get both of them, and they don't even lose their own backline during the process.
Yeah, biggest thing about that, too, is that Trundle was forced into the back of the pit, too. He was losing a lot of HP, didn't have his damage to support him as well, so he flashed to save himself. He had to.
Yeah, there's one nitpick I had about there with Mako. If you're going to do that Baron Rush, what they do in the finals of the LCK was that you have to buy your stopwatch beforehand. He had the ultimate, but he still died before he could get anything off. tough.
Yeah, and it was a very close fight. Despite that, still, though, we saw all of the resources from that point on just being dumped into Uzi. MLXG taking his Raptors. Uzi's going to walk over there and last hit it. MLXG trying to take Scuttle Crab. Uzi's going to get the last hit. He was able to just snowball off of the momentum, and once EDG were confined to their base, it was up to that last stand to try and turn it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Both teams had real scaling options, Azir versus Kog'Maw, and Azir was getting really lasting damage when he was able to join the fight. But the issue with EDG is that they would have to send him towards their own base because Inhibitor was broken. He had to be able to protect that, and he cannot deal with, of course, super minions all too well. He cannot deal with the banner minions that was consistently hitting his turrets. So it was really rough for Azir because they needed him in team fights, and he was the one being sent away.
Yeah, the big problem for EDG here is, yes, they do have the better 5v5 team composition. This is what they've drafted all 3 games. Better 5v5. RNG are answering with the split push, with the 1-3-1. And EDG are very slow to react to that. I have to touch on the Shen once more. Whoever picked the Shen in this season, in this head-to-head, has won the matchup. It's great against tanks. It's great against fighters. So they might want to take that away.
Yeah, well, it is a legacy pick for both of these teams. We'll have to see what that final pick is going to be, though, because, ladies and gentlemen, we are on match point. The Mad Dog versus the Pig Farmer, and one Nexus could be the beginning of a new era, and you do not want to miss it. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, but seriously, where else are you going to go? Have fun. We'll be right back.
去年夏天的情景还历历在目，我每天都在告诉自己，那样的剧情绝对不会重演的。
要我拿多少次 MVP 才能证明我是最强中单？打完这次决赛，希望不会再有人质疑